If you're not sure how to set up the DBX 286s with your microphone, in this video I'll quickly walk you through everything you need to know to make it sound amazing with any mic. And I'm going to do it in terms even a beginner will understand. If you're doing some research to see if the DBX 286s is a good fit for you, I'm going to show you why this little beast is one of the most popular mic processors available today. When set correctly, it'll give you that thick, commanding, broadcast sound that the professionals have, and it does it at an affordable price. First, make sure you're using an XLR cable directly from your mic to the mic input on the back of the DBX 286s. Then, using a TRS jack, connect from the output, which is a line level, out of the DBX to the line level input in your audio interface. Getting these connections right with the correct cables guarantees that the signal level will deliver the best results and the lowest noise in the system. If your audio interface has the option, make sure it's switched to accept a line level signal. Set the input gain of your audio interface about 1/4 to 2/3 of the way up so that you get some volume in your headphones. We're going to fine-tune this for optimum settings towards the end of the walkthrough. If you're using a condenser microphone, engage the 48-volt phantom power button so the yellow light illuminates. Use caution, as phantom power can damage some microphones, including some ribbon mics, so I'd double-check your specs just to make sure. 48-volt phantom power is not necessary for dynamic microphones, but I'm using a cardioid condenser in this case, so I'll keep it on. So let's set all of the knobs to the counterclockwise position, and you're going to notice it's going to start sounding a lot different, and that's our starting position here. So it's not as loud. I'm going to just crank up the output so you can make sure you hear my voice. We're going to start with the gain. This increases the low-level signal coming from the microphone, so you want to start it low and slowly turn up the gain knob clockwise so that your loudest speech just barely hits and illuminates the yellow LED. The red LED clip indicator should never light. If the red LED illuminates at any time, you've gone too far and you want to pull back. Now on to the compressor section. Make sure the process bypass is not engaged and that LED is turned off. One quick note here, that the lower the line input gain, the more noticeable the compressor drive effect is going to be. I suggest a more transparent or unnoticeable compression process is best. So setting the preamp, as we just did earlier, I think yields the best results for speech, in my opinion. Let's set the density at about 5 to start, and we'll come back to that. And slowly turn up the drive until the 6 decibel gain reduction LED is lit for regular speech, and the 9 is lit for excited speech. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ha! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. More or less drive is not wrong. It's just going to produce a different sound for you. The more drive you add, the less dynamic range between the loud and the quieter sounds. Now, the volume of sharp peaks in your consonants and words like T's and P's will be limited, and your breaths and vowels will be more apparent in your recording. Now back to the density knob. This controls how quickly that reduction turns back to the underduced level. So if you do the knob all the way clockwise, it's fast. It reduces and then jumps back to normal levels quickly. And if you lower it on some of the lower numbers, it takes a long time to reduce back to normal levels. DBX tells us that slower settings, lower numbers, are useful for reducing unwanted noise behind vocals and acoustic instruments, if that's what you're recording, while faster settings are useful for gating percussive sounds. So for recording speech, like voiceover, I like to set it towards the middle of the range so that all the lights are just about off by the end of the space between sentences. I believe this delivers a more natural sound. I like to set the enhancer before I set the De-Esser. I believe they work well, especially when you use them together. The enhancer is basically a simplified EQ that can boost the low and high detail of your voice. So what I like to do is start by slowly raising the low frequency detail until you hear kind of a pleasing, warm color to your voice. I prefer to use more low frequency detail if the voice is going to be the only audio in my entire production, and I like to fill up the entire frequency range. But if there's music or other elements that I'm going to be including in my production, in the back of my voice, I might opt to use a little bit less. But for just purely voice, I like to have a nice warm sound. I like to use the high frequency detail to accentuate the clarity and the air and the breath in my voice and words. You might raise this high frequency detail and feel it's too sharp or too harsh, but that is where the De-Esser comes in. Now, I've raised this, and you may have that feeling like it's a little bit too sharp or too tinny. Once I hear that air accentuated in my voice, I use the De-Esser to filter out some of those sharp sounds, but not all of them. I filter out the sharp sounds during my S's and other harsh frequencies. First, what I do is identify the harsh sound with the frequency control, and then set the level where the filter becomes active. So let's turn this threshold up so it's doing it. I'll usually tend to over accentuate the threshold first, over too much, and then sweep and see where those offending frequencies are. See where those offending frequencies are. Seems like the majority of those frequencies are, for me, somewhere right in there. That's where it's reducing it the most. Then I'll return to the threshold and back it off where it's unnoticeable and the end result is pleasing. So it's just filtering out those harsh frequencies, but I still have that high detail in my voice. The expander gate is the rock star of this unit. It does an amazing job of eliminating room noise and computer fans and traffic noise from the outside. And anything else, it'll get rid of anything else that you really don't want to hear in the background of your recording. Now, at this point, after we've set these, you can hear the fan from my computer. You hear a little bit of the echo in my slightly treated room. It's not professionally treated, but I do have some room treatment to prevent the echo in the room. This is basically a volume valve that prevents sound from passing through it until a higher volume threshold is reached and you want it to open. So when you're not speaking, it lowers the microphone signal, and when you speak at a certain level and it picks up that volume threshold, it opens the mic until you stop talking, and then it shuts it off again. And you'll hear it working in action as we kind of scroll through these knobs here. The threshold control sets the level that the door will fully open and let your voice pass through. And we have to turn this up just a little bit. And we'll come back to this one, but you need to turn it up a little bit to see the effect. So this controls the level of that door where it's going to completely open to let the voice pass through. The red LED indicates when the signal goes below the threshold, when I stop talking, and when I talk, it's when it's open. So you can hear it opening and closing there. I like to just get rid of that room noise and then maybe go up a couple clicks higher. So let me turn it off again. You'll hear the room noise. And you cycle it up and that room noise goes away. And because my voice is louder than the room noise, it's louder than where the threshold is set. And when it hears my voice, it opens up the door. When I stop talking, it closes the door again. Now, the ratio is where you set the amount of attenuation applied, how much the door closes. Does it close to be completely silent, or does it still let a little bit of that volume through of the room noise? Low ratio settings and higher gate threshold settings yield a more gentle effect, whereas higher expansion ratios work better for kind of abrupt gating, which we don't want. We want it to sound kind of natural. So you hear the room noise there in the background, and I'm having it close the door but not completely shut like this is, because that could cut off some of the beginning parts of my voice. It doesn't sound as natural that way. So just quiet enough there, and it's opening and closing to eliminate that background noise. That brings us to the output gain. Now, it's really useful to compensate for changes in reduction that the compressor has made. Now, I like to return to the process bypass button and try to match the processed sound with the unprocessed sound, and I'll show you how to do that. This is without all of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is with it. This is without, and this is with. I try to make to match the overall volume to match it. So If I bypassed, and you see this output doesn't work here, but I'll turn it up a little bit. Now you can hear it's much louder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or quieter. So I try to match the two. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's pretty close. Then what I'll do is return to my audio interface and fine adjust the clean input gain to reach the optimum level, about -10 dB on my DAW. So to compare, this is what my voice sounds like going directly into my audio interface with no voice processing. And this is how it sounds after, giving your voice a real punchy, bold, thick, professional sound from the DBX 286s. I hope you found this helpful. Now I want to hear from you. What's been preventing you from increasing the audio quality of your voiceover? I'm happy to answer any questions about recording, editing, or producing voiceovers. Thanks for checking this out. Subscribe to my channel for more upcoming voice recording tips and professional techniques.